When are we live, Talib? Now? How long have we been live? When were you going to tell me? How would I know that? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولي الصالحين وإله الأولين والآخرين ورب الطيبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Yesterday we were speaking about the rulings of al-i'tikaf. The rulings or some of the rulings of al-i'tikaf. Naam. And what did we mention, Salih, with regards to i'tikaf? First of all, we spoke about the wisdom of i'tikaf. Naam. Hikmatuhu. The wisdom of what? Al-i'tikaf. The wisdom. Whenever we talk about a thing, we normally start off with the what? The wisdom of making salah. The wisdom of doing this. The wisdom of doing that. Tayyib. Then we also spoke on the meaning of al-i'tikaf. Tayyib. Then we also spoke on لا قبل الشروط مشروعيته, the proofs and the evidences that state that i'tikaf is from the deen, that i'tikaf is from the religion, as is well known. But we establish things when we're learning. If someone says i'tikaf is no longer from the sunnah, it's just a cultural practice. Naam, you say no, i'tikaf is from the deen because of this, because of that, and because of that, from kitab and from sunnah. Tayyib. Then we spoke on the conditions of al-i'tikaf. Naam, the shurut of what? Of al-i'tikaf. Then after that we spoke on ahsant, ma yajuzu lil mu'takif, what can be done, what is allowed for those who are making al-i'tikaf. Tayyib. Such as what can be done for those who make i'tikaf? Leaving the masjid for need or necessity. Tayyib. Good. Or?
I was going to say, like you also mentioned, that it does not have to be during the month of Ramadan.
I'tikaf can be outside of the month of Ramadan as well. Tayyib. What else did we mention yesterday? It must be in a masjid in which there's Jumu'ah, in which there's Jama'ah. Tayyib. Faddal. What else? Tayyib. Tayyib. What else did we mention? You can have a i'tikaf inside of i'tikaf. In the masjid, have your own tent. Tayyib. Khair inshallah. Very good. What else did we mention? Must be fasting. Tayyib.
What are permissible and what are not permissible in i'tikaf? For example, if it's permissible to use your phone.
It's permissible to use your phone. Talk to your wife. Talk to someone. Tayyib. What else? Preferred to do i'tikaf in Ramadan. In the last 10 nights as well. Tayyib. What else did we mention? Afwan? Outside of Ramadan as well. Khair.
Part of the month of Ramadan, not specifically the last 10 days of
Tayyib.
Ramadan.
Khair inshallah. We mentioned a woman visiting her husband while he's making i'tikaf. And we were explaining some very, 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 very important points yesterday. And that was the differences between the time and the place of many hadiths that we read, let alone many fiqh rulings that we may study that come from an Islamic society, a Muslim country, an Islamic nation, a Muslim land, that come from a place in which Islam has touched Islam has at worst scraped every phase and aspect of life, from science to medicine to agriculture. How Muslims build things. It's different than a building in Jordan, Mauritania, Sudan is different than a building what? In New York City, such as the masjid. The masjid is what? It's totally different. Most masjids in America are, we said, refurbished buildings. There are, alhamdulillah, some that are built from the ground up. There are some built that are made specifically, constructed, erected with the intention of being a mosque. But most of them are what? Refurbished buildings. And because it's a refurbished building, there are going to be things that are very, very different, such as wudu station, hammam, kitchen, cafeteria. All of these things, what? In the building. No longer need to walk out of the building. And the same applies to a woman visiting her husband. In other words, let's say you're making itikaf, Osama comes with his blanket, okay? And his wife comes to the door. She comes right here. Assalamu alaikum, Zoj, husband. I come to see you. I brought you some food. I brought you something. May Allah accept your ibadah. And then she left. Everybody understand this? Or the side door. Or let's say, for example, even going deeper than that, as we said yesterday, the concept of women not being in the same musalla as men. Many rulings are now what? Very different. And many rulings of the sunnah, we said, because of these things have become obsolete, have become what? Unfortunately. No women come on the brother's side. If a woman walked into the brother's side, some brothers would look and stare, perhaps. Some brothers would criticize her, repeat, what are you doing? Astaghfirullah, haram, ittaqillah. The sister side is up the steps. Now, many people would do this. But in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, what we're reading here, that a wife would what? Go to the window, come to the door, walk and visit. The Prophet ﷺ, while he was making what? Hadithdisciple. Some of these rulings are totally what? It's not going to happen. In other masjids where the doors, the entrances are even more secluded. There is no woman visiting her husband while he's making what? There's none of that. Everybody clear? There's what? And there are many, many other rulings as well, as we previously what? Explained. Especially last week in Masjid Taqwa as well. Khayr inshallah. Let's move forward. Tayyib. The sixth and last point, or the seventh point, or not even with a number, it says ba. The two authors, they say, وَيَجُوزُ لِلْمَرْأَةِ أَن تَعْتَكِفَ مَعَ زَوْجِهَا أَوْ لِوَحْدِهَا لقول عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتكف العشر الأواخر كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتكف العشر الأواخر من رمضان حتى توفاه الله ثم اعتكف أزواجه من بعده. قال شيخنا حفظه الله وفيه دليل على جواز اعتكاف النساء ولا شك أن ذلك مقيد بإذن أوليائهن لذلك وأمن الفتنة والخلوة مع الرجال للأدلة الكثيرة في ذلك والقاعدة الفقهية درء المفاسد مقدم على جلب المصالح. انتهى كلامه رحمه الله. The authors, they say, it is permissible for a woman to make i'tikaf, whether she makes i'tikaf with her husband or whether she is by herself. The authors, they say, it's permissible for a woman to make i'tikaf, whether it's with her husband or whether it is by herself. And the proof is the statement of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, that the Messenger of Allah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to make i'tikaf during the last 10 nights of Ramadan, consistently until Allah caused him to die, alayhi salatu wasalam. Then after he passed away, alayhi salatu wasalam, his wives made the i'tikaf. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had passed on, his wives did what? They made i'tikaf. It says in the footnotes, we mentioned a hadith already in the Sahihain. He says here, before we move forward, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. He says here, before we move forward, قال شيخنا, he says our teacher, and he's talking about Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah. Obviously this book was written when he was alive. he says about this hadith in the Sahihain, this hadith clearly proves that it is permissible for women to make i'tikaf. And he says there lies no doubt that a woman making i'tikaf has conditions, has restrictions. The first and foremost, or first condition of them, he says, the permission of her wali. The permission of her wali. So if a girl is single, her father, her uncle. If a woman is married, her husband, mathalan. Number two, he says, وَأَمْنِ الْفِتْنَةِ. He says, and safety and precaution from trials, from infatuation, from there being a problem with a woman sleeping outside of her home with men. Everybody understand this? They're not mixed up, sitting together, laughing together. She's not wearing perfume, makeup, tight overgarment, colorful, kimar, these different things. Everybody understand this? The fitna, that's the means of what? Fitna. He says here, and there are many proofs and evidences that state that. And the major fiqh ruling, he says, al-qaida al-fiqhiyya, it's a maxim in the deen. A major fiqh ruling in Islam is what? Dar'ul mafasid muqaddamun ala jalb al-masalih. Stay away from harm. Repel vice before you attract virtue. Repel vice before you what? Attract virtue. Everybody understand this? Repel something that's harmful before you what? Get something that which is beneficial. If it's no way. Everybody, if it, one of the two. No doubt. Prevention before what? Better with it or what? Without it. Now I would say there's different ways of saying this, different qaida. A cliche, statement in culture, medicine, prevention before cure, and the list goes on. Khairan inshallah. So, that's the end of the chapter with regards to al-i'tikaf. This is a very commonly asked question. Many masjids, most masjids that I've been to, they ask this question: can a woman make i'tikaf? It's haram for a woman to make i'tikaf. A woman should make i'tikaf in her home, so on and so forth. A woman should not make i'tikaf in the masjid. What is important, as we've just read briefly in the Sahihain, Bukhari and Muslim, is that the Prophet ﷺ, he allowed his wives to make i'tikaf. Now, and then, for no one to say that it was special to the Prophet ﷺ or to his wives, or when he was alive, when the Prophet ﷺ passed away, they continued to make al-i'tikaf. Everybody understand this? Tayyib. And the asl, the default rule, the rule of thumb, is that that which the Prophet did, that which his wives did, it's also permissible for us to do. Until there's a proof that states it was what? Specific for them. This is only for the Prophet's wives. This is only for Aisha. This is only for Salama. This is only for... La. The asl, the default rule, is that that which they did, and the Prophet ﷺ's what? Acknowledgement of what they did, of course, his taqreer, his approval, is that that thing is from the what? From the deen. Everybody clear on this? Until it's proven that it was specific to his wives, such as, what's something special to the Prophet's wives, our mothers?
They cannot marry or marry.
They cannot remarry after the Prophet ﷺ. Once they become widowed, this what? They cannot marry anyone. That's something that's what? That's no one can say, well, my husband died, I was divorced, or I became a widow, so I'm never ever going to get married. It's haram for me to get married. As we find in many cultures today. Without a question, without a doubt. That is not from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ with regards to his followers. That was only for his what? Wives. As Allah clearly mentioned in the 33rd chapter of the Quran. Khairan inshallah. So therefore, with regards to making an i'tikaf for a woman, then as we read, we benefited. It's from the sunnah with those conditions. They're not mixed with men, that they're not wearing perfume, they're not wearing clothing, which is a means of attraction and infatuation, and that's an entire lecture by itself. A woman should not wear perfume outside of the home, makeup in her face is uncovered, henna, fingernail polish, high heel shoes, tight clothes in Ramadan or what? Outside of Ramadan. However, if you're coming to the masjid for ibadah, then it only makes sense to have more respect. Everybody clear on this? But that's a lecture in itself. The ruling of these things. We've explained to in many classes. The hijab of a Muslim woman the etiquettes of a Muslimah with regards to leaving her home. Khairan, inshallah. So therefore, it's permissible to make i'tikaf for a woman with those what? With those conditions. There may be some people who may say, a woman cannot make i'tikaf, it's fitna, it's kada, it's kada, it's kada, and it's kada. All of these different statements and opinions and views, كلها رأي في مقابلة النص, is going against the what? The text of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah Azza wa Jal truly knows best. Maybe we have a few questions. Wallahu alam. Anything, Talib? Khalas? Are there any questions from the brothers or the sisters here on the topic or off the topic of i'tikaf? Once again, this is a disclaimer. Are there any questions that anyone has in this mosque, brothers or sisters, on the topic of i'tikaf or off the topic of i'tikaf? You're more than free to ask. Fadl.
I got $10,000 check. Do I have to pay Zakat on it?
You have a check? You cash your check?
Check.
Have you cashed your check yet?
No.
When do you plan on cashing it?
I just want to keep it.
You want to just keep the check?
Yes, I want it.
Type. Question is, I have $10,000 check. Do I have to pay zakat on it? If you have that $10,000 check and you have access to cashing that check and it's all your money, you own the check, and it sits for 12 months, you have to pay zakat on it. It's a type of currency. It's a type of what? Currency. Wallahu alam. Further always.
So my wife has a lot of jewelry, gold, right? But because the way it's designed, right, it has a lot of like other stuff, plastic stuff, which are not part of the gold. So we took it to a jeweler and say, hey, help us weight this, give us estimate, and he basically gave us the total amount of weight, right? And how should we calculate it's a lot of plastic pieces in it, because of the design and everything. Let's say if it's, I'm just giving you hypothetically, it's 10 pounds.
Clear.
How should we?
Sorry. Questions regarding women's jewelry, women's gold jewelry, the nisab of gold for women's jewelry, how to pay it, how to calculate it. There are pieces, fillers, accessories, etc. First and foremost is, if a woman has the ability to pay the zakat on her gold, the jewelry that she has, then that's the safest thing to do. But it does not necessarily mean that that's the correct view. The correct view is that zakatul huli is not obligatory. It is not mandatory for a woman to pay zakat on her jewelry. That's the strongest view from the people of knowledge. That's first and foremost. However, to be on the safe side, to pay it, khair. To pay it, that's what? That's best. But the actual view that we think is most correct is that it is not obligatory for a woman to pay zakat on her jewelry. That's first and foremost. Number two, when you go to pay the zakat on the gold jewelry, then you make an estimation to the best of your ability. The weight of the gold, how many grams, ounces, whatever the case may be, excluding the plastic, excluding the other metal, the other things which are used to bind it together, whatever the case may be, a gold watch, etc. And you come to the closest amount that you possibly can. And you make the zakat based on that. First and foremost, does it reach the nisab for gold or not? Once it reaches the nisab, then you calculate it. If it's beneath the nisab, then there's no zakat due. If it's above the nisab, then you pay the nisab for the what? For the gold. Everybody clear on this? And you give it out in currency and money, as we have explained. That's in brief. Wallahu alam. Abu Bakr.
What acts of Salah does it pertain to?
قد فهمت عليك. Question says, with regards to the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that says, إِنَّمَا جُعِلَ الْإِمَامُ لِيُؤْتَمَّ بِهِ, that the Imam has only been placed to be followed. The Imam has only been placed, he's only been made to be what? To be followed. And then the hadith of the Prophet goes on to say, when he makes ruku', when he makes sujood, when he stands, so on and so forth. What does this include? What does this entail? The hadith entails outward actions. The outward actions. The hadith entails you following the Imam, not preceding the Imam. The hadith entails you not staying way behind the Imam. And the hadith also entails you not moving at the same time with the Imam, as many people do. As many people do. And this is a huge mistake. Pay close attention to what we just mentioned. When you're behind an Imam, the following things will happen. Number one, you will do what you're supposed to do, which is called al-mutaba'ah. That's following the Imam. The Imam moves, then you move, not simultaneously. Number two is al-muwafaqah, is that you move exactly when the what? Imam moves, and that's wrong. That's incorrect. To follow the leader. The leader is ahead, you what? You walk with him. In other words, you move when he moves, but behind him, and not on the same row, the same file with him. Everybody clear on this? Number three is for you to stay behind the Imam. He moves, and then too much time goes by before what? You move. And last but not least, the worst of all is al-musabaqah. It's to move before the what? Imam, which many people do on a daily basis. So these things are to be avoided except for the what? The first, following. And when you follow the Imam, you only follow the Imam in the outward actions. If the Imam is reciting Surah Al-Buruj, you do not have to recite Surah Al-Buruj. If the Imam moves his finger into Shahud, and you consider the hadith weak and you keep it still, you do what? Keep your finger still. If the Imam places his hands back on his chest after ruku', Sami Allahu liman hamida, and you see that they should go to the side, then you what? Place them by your side. Or somebody may even say even in that, because it's still outward. However, what's important is the actual pillars of the salah. Ruku', qiyam, sujood, sajda. Naam, always? That's what's meant. And this also applies to when you're late behind the Imam. The Imam is making tashahhud, you're not making tashahhud. Clear on this? Wallahu alam. Fadda.
Follow-up question to that. So if you're in, you said outward action. So now if your intention is different from the Imam. So for example, if the Imam is, making nawafil, and you just want to make your fault salah.
Clear.
He was to make 2 rak'ah and you were to make 4.
Tayyib.
He was to say taslim and then you get up. Does it pertain to that?
Tayyib. Not necessarily. It has nothing to do with the intention necessarily. That's first and foremost. Secondly is you follow the Imam in the outward actions that do not go against your specific salah. So when the Imam salams out and you have 2 more rak'ah to make, you now what? Leave the Imam and you're no longer obliged to follow him. Wallahu alam. Question says, does the worshipper have to have i'tikaf specifically in the musalla area? If it's not in the musalla, then as if it's not in the masjid. If it's not in the musalla, then as if it's not in the what? The masjid. Back in the day of the Prophet ﷺ, as we said, things were very simple. There was no bathroom. There was no imam's office. There was no gym. There was no cafeteria. There was no lobby. There were no announcements of flyers. People didn't come to the masjid with flyers, with club flyers. They didn't come to the masjid announcing lecture or matrimonial. They didn't do these things. They didn't exist. Anything that needed to be said to the Muslims was addressed as a whole. So therefore, inside of the masjid in general was all the musalla. And other than that, could be called the saha, courtyard, for example. Mathalan, if the Prophet's masjid even had one of those. The Prophet's masjid was very small. Everybody understand this? We know that the companions, they expanded the masjid. Especially Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He was pivotal in expanding the masjid into a large area. And other khulafa and the people who came after him, they did it even more, even greater up until this day. So therefore, when you're in the masjid, the place of prayer is called the Musalla. So if you're not making i'tikaf in the place of prayer, something's not right. Something's not what? Not right. As we said yesterday, if you go to the lobby, if you go to the bathroom, if you go to the gym, if you go to the cafeteria, if you go to the imam's office, it does not mean that your i'tikaf has become what? Broken. But your actual intention of sitting, of praying, of sleeping, of reading should be in the musalla. In the what? In the musalla, not in the imam's office. Always. Wallahu alam. Khalid, تفضل. تفضل.
Sorry, follow-up question. If you come to the masjid and you see someone praying on a chair, how should you pray behind him? Should you grab a chair and put it next to his chair?
The imam?
Yes.
طيب. بإذن الله تعالى, is details. With regards to, is the person a normal imam? Or is he just leading the salah this one time? Did he begin the salah standing up, etc., etc., etc.? What's important, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says, وَإِذَا صَلَّى قَائِدًا فَصَلُّوا قُعُودًا. He says, and when the imam prays sitting down, then you should pray sitting down. He says, all together, collectively. So many of the ulama of Islam, they said this hadith is mansukh. It's been cancelled and abrogated. It was once a rule, but no longer. And some of the ulama of the past, they held the view that is muhkam wa laysa bi mansukh, is that it exists, and if the imam prays sitting down, then you should pray sitting down as well, and it has not been canceled. So the scholars of Islam, they differ. What's important is, the fork in the road is, if it's a normal imam, and every single salah he prays sitting down, and then the people who come behind him have to pray sitting on every single salah, that could become problematic. That could become what? Problematic. And that's why we mentioned in detail with regards to the imam not being regular. And secondly, something happening, he became injured or he had to sit down in the prayer, and not the staple way that he prays is what? Sitting down. However, for argument's sake, you came to the masjid just one time and the imam was sitting down, la bas, you prayed sitting down. And if you chose to stand up, you took the view of those ulama who say that that's no longer the rule, that's also what? La bas. Wallahu alam. Adam. With regards to making i'tikaf and sitting in the durus, leaving the tent, يعني if the durus are beneficial, إذا كانت هذه الدروس نافعة طيبة يعني يذكر فيها كتاب الله وسنة النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام فلا بأس، ينتفع، يستمع الذكر، يستفيد، يكون خير على خير، نور على نور. والعلم، تعلم العلم وطلب العلم لا يتنافى مع الاعتكاف أبدا، ولا يتنافى مع العبادة إطلاقا، خلافا لما قد يتوهمه بعض الناس أن العبادة شيء والعلم شيء. If you're making i'tikaf in a masjid and there's some type of beneficial lecture or beneficial class that's being conducted and held, la bas. There's nothing wrong with you leaving your tent. There's nothing wrong with you sitting and listening. It does not break your i'tikaf. Rather, knowledge does not go against worship. Worship and knowledge, they are friends. They're brothers and sisters. They get along. They don't fight. Even though all brothers and sisters don't what? Get along. But these two, they do. Knowledge and ilm go what? Knowledge and ibadah go what? Hand in hand. There's no contradiction between the two. Khair inshallah. As long as those lessons in which the Quran and the Sunnah is being taught and promoted and propagated. Wallahu alam. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Salamun al mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.